Hello, Silicon Valley. So, please repeat after me. Wow. Let's try that again. Wow. Right, now we're going to go all out now. 1, 2, 3. Wow. All right. Wow. Well, that's the word that comes to mind when I think of this occasion, this beautiful venue, and of course, our awesome featured speaker tonight. Welcome to Idea to IPO. My name is Rob. I organize Idea to IPO. We've been holding events in Silicon Valley for many, many years. We launched officially on February 1st, 2010. At that time, we had no members and no events on our calendar. At this stage, we have over 400,000 members among all our meetup groups all around the world. We've organized, promoted, and produced over 3,900 events. By any standard, by any measure, we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, bar none. Wow. A few of you got the drift. So let me expand on that, though. So if we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley is the global center of entrepreneurship and innovation, that would make us the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of the world. You guys are really fast learners. I like that. We hold venture capital panels, legal workshops, networking events, and more. We hold an event nearly every day of the week. Check out our schedule at ideatoipo.com. Our mission is to promote entrepreneurship, support entrepreneurs, build community, and provide value in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. To that end, we provide content that is practical, actionable, and relevant, stuff you can actually use to succeed as entrepreneurs. We believe in building community because Silicon Valley is a global, aspirational ecosystem. It attracts people from all over the world who come here to do great things. Who here is not originally from Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? Okay, so who was born and raised in Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? All 5 of you. Well, welcome, natives. So whether you were born and raised here or just arrived last night, it's important to us to provide multiple channels for you to meet people, build relationships, and grow your network. With regard to value, it's important that we provide value at each and every one of our events. Not just value for your money, which is important though, because we know many entrepreneurs are struggling financially. So we make sure our events are free or affordable, and if you cannot afford to cover charge for whatever reason, come talk to me and we can work something out. And at most of our speaker events, we make sure that we provide a delicious buffet. Is that a delicious buffet? I was expecting a wow, but that's okay. Most importantly, at each and every one of our events, we want to make sure that we provide value for your time, which is your most valuable resource. Anyone here getting any younger, besides our featured speaker tonight? So when you invest your valuable time to come to our events, we want to make sure that you maximize your ROI. We have many partners that help us do what we do: law firms, venture capital firms, angel investor groups, incubators, accelerators, colleges, universities, and lots of other players in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. Tonight, we're grateful to Procopio for hosting us at this beautiful venue. Is this a beautiful venue? So let's hear it for Roger and Procopio. Applause.
It's COVID after all, you know. How you all doing? I want to see if I can get it better than Rob. How you all doing? All right, better luck next time, Rob. Welcome everybody. It's great to host you all here again. I see usual suspects, usual people. Great to see you all again. So we just have to pay for dinner, and Rob said, "I will get us 20 minutes." I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Procopio is an AmLaw 200 law firm. I head up our emerging growth and venture capital practice group, so I deal with companies from inception all the way through exit and everything in between. That's, I think, paid for dinner. Before I became a lawyer, I was an entrepreneur and made all the mistakes in the book. So I just tell my clients, do what I didn't do or do what I did, and you'll be fine. So one of the things I put out there on your chairs is a top 10 mistakes to avoid when you're doing your term sheets. Please, please, please read those. If you're going for funding, I've had 3 entrepreneurs this week that have gotten into so much trouble because they just didn't understand, didn't negotiate or get legal review of their term sheets. So I'm begging you, please, just to read it. You can throw it away. I have no problems with that, but at least just educate yourself as to the do's and don'ts with respect to term sheets. And lastly, we've got an event coming up with Rajesh Waminathan from Coastal Ventures on the 24th. It's already half sold out. So please, if you are in any way, shape, or form looking for funding, or you think you may be looking for funding, Rajesh is an amazing individual, and Coastal Ventures is a fantastic VC firm. So if you're free on August 24th, please, would like to see you back here. It's going to be a sellout, and hope you enjoy the event tonight. Bill is one of those luminaries of Silicon Valley, and every time I see Bill's pitch to Wow, I always learn something. So thank you, Bill, for coming tonight. Thank you. Thank you all.
A couple of our other partners are here tonight. I would like to have them also come up and say a few words. So let's hear it for Frankie and Sushi and New York Life. Applause.
Hi, my name is Frankie Dong, and this is my business partner, Sushi. Thank you so much for being here. Imagine you guys are a founder of a company, you guys are Sushi, and you guys just got funded. What do you guys do next? You protect your investment with life insurance, and I can help with that. We have a New York Life table over there. Come take a free selfie with me and Sushi, and thank you all so much for your time. Hope you enjoy your evening.
Though our local mission in Silicon Valley is to support entrepreneurs here, our global mission is to democratize entrepreneurship and innovation all around the world. To that end, we maintain a robust YouTube channel, youtube.com/idea to IPO. Go check it out. We have tons of videos there. And this rich, valuable content is available on demand, anytime, anywhere, totally free of charge. Our partner in this endeavor is Tim Jeggers, one of the top professional videographers and digital marketing experts in Silicon Valley. Let's hear it for Tim. Applause.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everybody. So my name is Tim Jeggers. I have been making videos since I was a kid. I pursued it in college, and now I do it full-time on my own. I run my own company. I wear a lot of hats, but the main thing I've been doing lately is mostly video strategy. I execute everything from production, directing if you need me to direct. I cover events like this. I make promotional and informational content for companies, advertising content. And yeah, pretty much like all sorts of videos. If it's something in my wheelhouse or if I have the team to do it, I'm always open to talking about projects. And if you have questions in general, I can answer a lot of them probably. And if not, I could probably forward you to somebody who could. So yeah, I'll go ahead and give it back to Rob, and let's enjoy the event. Thank you.
So here's the schedule for the rest of the evening. Our featured speaker will deliver a brilliant, compelling, dynamic, entertaining, and scintillating presentation. Right? Just saying. That will be followed by elevator pitches. Bill will listen to them and provide feedback. That'll take us to about 8:40 p.m. At that point, we'll wrap up the program. Stick around, network, socialize, connect, talk to Bill. As a courtesy to Procopio, ideally, we'd like to leave the building by 9 p.m. However, there's an after party, and here are the choices. The Rosewood. Yeah, it's Thursday night. Okay. The patio, or Pizza My Heart. But more on that later. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our featured speaker tonight. Bill Reichert is an icon in Silicon Valley. Actually, he's a global superstar at this stage.
An emoji, actually, not an icon. Sorry.
But Bill Reichert really is one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of Silicon Valley. But let me expand on that. So if Silicon Valley is the global center of entrepreneurship and innovation, and Bill Reichert is one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of Silicon Valley, that would make Bill Reichert one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of the world. So let's give Bill a big welcome on three. A wow. 1, 2, 3. Wow!
Thank you.
Let's give it up for Bill.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, all of you. Or actually, normally, Rob refers to me as the late Bill Reichert because he's always complaining that I show up late. But did I delay tonight? No. Okay. So, in any case, and thank you to Procopio, Roger, and for hosting this, and Tim for hopefully making me look good here as we do go through the presentation. So, what I want to talk to you about tonight is what I've learned. Let me get this thing right. Okay, too much noise, right? Okay, is that better? Is that better? You're okay in the back? Thank you. All right, here we go. So, I started my career here in Silicon Valley as an entrepreneur. I came here to Stanford, this is a long time ago, and when I was at Stanford, I wound up starting a software company as a grad student. This was before it was fashionable for Stanford grad students to start software companies. But I was very, very fortunate. That got me hooked here in Silicon Valley. And I wound up actually starting or restarting 4 different technology companies as an entrepreneur, 2 of which we took public and 2 of which crashed and burned. And you'll always hear, VCs and entrepreneurs say, I learned more from crashing and burning than I did. No, that's not true. I learned a lot more from the IPOs than I did. But that's another discussion. That's not the point. The point of tonight is I was very fortunate as an entrepreneur to get some just great coaching, some great mentorship about the right way to put together a pitch deck and to deliver a pitch. And then I became a VC. So I got together with Guy Kawasaki and a few other people, and we started a venture capital firm called Garage Technology Ventures. And the big idea behind Garage was to be a different kind of venture capital firm. We wanted to be the most open, most outreach-oriented venture capital firm on the planet. Back then, and still to this day, VCs tend to be kind of opaque, hard to figure out exactly where they are, how to get to them, how to connect with them. And we wanted to, quote, democratize venture capital. We were the first venture capital firm to allow entrepreneurs to submit their decks to us digitally. Wow. Believe it or not. Yeah, right. Believe it or not. This is 1999. Believe it or not, entrepreneurs had to print out a deck, put it in a FedEx envelope, and mail it to Sand Hill Road. Unbelievable, right? And so we said, this is crazy. We're well into the internet. So the problem with that big idea, it was very clever, but we got over 100,000 business plans in the first 2.5 years. So that was a bit of a problem. But, it was a quality problem. The other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to give back to the entrepreneur community. We wanted to sort of share our own scars, our own experiences as entrepreneurs, and make it available to entrepreneurs. And so we launched a program called The Art of the Start, which then Guy turned into a book, which has become a pretty good seller book. And we did a lot of outreach. So one of our taglines as a venture capital firm was that we want to take the FU out of funding. That was our, so the origin of this is I had always spent a lot of time thinking about, okay, how can I help entrepreneurs be more successful? So I spent a lot of time doing pitch competitions and listening to entrepreneurs pitch. And after just a couple of years as a VC, I realized, boy, these pitches are pretty terrible. And so I went to my new VC buddies, and I said, so when Garage was funded, we were funded by Sequoia and by Mayfield and Draper Fisher Jurvetson and actually Silicon Valley Bank funded us, among others. But I went to my new buddies in the VC community, and I said, so tell me kind of, what's the secret? You listen to these pitches, how do you figure out what it is that, you're looking for? And what I realized was everybody had a template and everybody had their sort of bias, but that most of the advice that entrepreneurs were getting around pitching was either wrong or it was presentation coaching. That was what most entrepreneurs get, and to this day that is true. Now I'll tell you a dirty little secret. One of the things that I found out when I went to my new VC buddies and asked them about, how can we make these pitches better? How can we coach entrepreneurs to be more successful or effective with their pitches? They said, well, here's what we decided. What we did is, as a VC community, we were tired of listening to 10-minute pitches, 20-minute pitches. So we told entrepreneurs, you know what you need? You need an elevator pitch. Imagine you run into an investor in an elevator, what are you going to say, whatever. So that was the big kind of cleverness of the VC community. Let's have them condense it all down. Now you realize, of course, there are almost no elevators in Silicon Valley, right? There are no elevators on Sand Hill Road. You're never going to get into an elevator with a VC, right? Okay, in Silicon Valley. But at least we didn't have to listen to entrepreneurs drone on and on and on. So that was the big secret in terms of how to improve entrepreneur pitches. And I thought, well, okay, there's got to be a better way. And what I noticed is, by the way, when can you use an elevator pitch?
All the time.
Never. The only time you're ever going to use your elevator pitch is in an elevator pitch competition. Right? You're not going to use an elevator pitch at a trade show and, you walk up to somebody at the shrimp bar and you say, hi, how you doing? My name is Bill. How you doing? Yeah, you think she's going to want to listen to a 60-second elevator pitch, No, she's going to want to get to the shrimp, right? So I realized we're not doing it quite right. And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what are we doing wrong and how can we do it better, and that's where this comes from. So I have a good friend of mine who took his company public is responsible for the concept of getting to wow, because he was in New York practicing for his IPO pitch, and he was doing a typical Silicon Valley pitch. He was droning on and on and on about how cool his technology was and what his tech stack was and, the specs on his technology, blah, blah, blah. And the Wall Street guy said, John, stop, forget it. Tell me, what is your wow? And he couldn't figure out what he meant by what is your wow. And so he spent, a day and $4,000 with this guy trying to figure out how to craft their wow. For the low price of, how much did they charge tonight? For the low price of whatever your admission, what was your admission fee? 15. For the low price of $15, I'm gonna save you all the pain and angst of how to get to wow with your pitch, okay? So, question for all of you, right? So think about it. What is your pitch? What is your pitch? So most people think that it's your deck, right? We say think it's your deck. Some people say, well, it's not a deck, it's a presentation. Is it your executive summary? Is it your business plan? Is it your demo? No. Is it your video? Sorry, Tim. Is it your video? No. Your pitch is the impression you create and leave behind. And now, contrary to popular belief, 90+% of the time that you are pitching, you're going to be pitching for less than 20 seconds. Does that sound weird? But the reality is every time you open your mouth, you're pitching. Every time you meet someone, you're pitching, right? Or you should be if you're an entrepreneur. And so your reality is that you've got 20 seconds to be compelling, or you might as well go home, right? So that's kind of the way you should be thinking about it. Stop thinking about slides and decks and graphics and charts and all that stuff, and think about how are you going to have an impact every time you open your mouth. So the secret to pitching happens to be Human Anatomy 101. So where am I going with this? So what we know, what we've learned, this has actually been sort of, there's some legitimate science behind this. A good communicator connects with 3 body parts. So what are the 3 body parts you got to connect with? Okay, the first is the head, right? You know, what you say has got to make sense. Unfortunately, so many times what entrepreneurs say doesn't make sense. Now, you think it makes sense, right? Because you live and breathe your technology and your business model and your customers and your comment. You live and breathe that stuff. So all these obscure things that you talk about, you understand them, but people outside your company don't understand them. And so entrepreneurs think they're being clear, but they aren't. So you've got to make sure that what you say makes sense. Now, when I was an entrepreneur, and this was my sort of one of my epiphanies, my mentors, my wonderful, great, spectacular mentors that I had, they basically convinced me that the secret to a good pitch was data and evidence and charts and graphs and logic and argumentation and compelling logic, right? Such that by slide 56, you were bludgeoned into being convinced that my company was the most brilliant company ever to land in Silicon Valley, right? That was, that's actually kind of what most coaching was about. That's how I was coached. And, well, it actually worked, okay? So I was fortunate. What I didn't realize is that the really reason, I actually did kind of realize it, the reason I was successful raising money for all these companies was not because of my deck. It was because of the people who backed me. It was because of my sponsors. So I just had some extraordinary sponsors who backed me in launching my companies. So that's kind of Silicon Valley secret number 1. It's not your deck, okay? It's the people who sponsor you, support you, who are visibly out there helping you to get the funding, to get the customers, to build the team. But we're talking about your pitch now. So I was deluded in thinking that it was all about the head. But when I got to become a VC and started talking to my new buddies, at Sequoia and Mayfield, et cetera, I went to them thinking, okay, these guys, they must have some sort of algorithm, right, in the back of their head. I was thinking kind of Wall Street or whatever. And I said, okay, guys, now I'm one of you. Tell me, you listen to all this stuff come in, you process it, you must have some sort of algorithm in the back of your head that's calculating an internal rate of return so you can make all these brilliant investment decisions, right? That's how it works, right? And they go, well, no, Bill. And I said, well, what's the algorithm? Please tell me. Well, they would say, we invest in teams. Yeah, we invest in teams. We go, oh, okay, good. Okay, so what are the metrics? What are the analytics? How do you assess a team? How do you measure the quality of a team? And they would say to me things like, well, it's kind of pattern recognition. After 5 or 10 years, you'll get the hang of it. And I go, are you kidding me? Really? These are the masters of the universe? This is how venture capital works? So I started watching how my peers were making their decisions. What did they respond to? What did we respond to? We wanted to be unbelievably, disciplined and data-driven and evidence-based. We actually started creating a scorecard, and we, would weight stuff. And we discovered, we were gaming our scorecard, right? So if Guy liked the team, you gave him a 10. If I didn't like him, I gave him a 2. But same team, right? What good is that, right? So I was watching, trying to figure out how do these VCs decide who to follow up with? And I had this epiphany that VCs don't invest with their brains. It's the second body part. VCs invest with their hearts. So, the major theme of this presentation is that if you want to get funded, you got to get them to fall in love. You got to get them to fall in love. Now, what makes VCs fall in love? You know, I always thought that should be a song. What makes VCs? Okay, whatever. Okay, probably wouldn't make it as a song. Okay, so what makes VCs fall in love? So different VCs fall in love with different things, and so you've got to figure that out in advance. But the key thing here is you got to get to the point where when you are talking with an investor, the very first thing that comes out of their mouth is, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more. Or come to my office and meet my partners. Or here's a check. No, you're never going to get that. But you've got to figure out how to get them to say, wow. Wow is not an intellectual response, right? Wow is an emotional response. And we happen to know human beings pay more attention to their heart than to their head, right? That's what the whole advertising industry is about. That's what most of marketing is about. It's getting you to fall in love, getting you to have an emotionally positive reaction to whatever it is they're selling. That doesn't feel like it should be high technology Silicon Valley, but that's just the reality. You got to get them to, you got to figure out what is lovable about what you're doing. Now, when I say lovable, you know what I mean, right? I mean, you've got to get my heart beating faster. You got to get my pulse racing. You got to get me excited or amazed. That's what I mean by falling in love. Okay, so that's the key, but there's a third body part. There's a third body part. The third body part is? Exactly. You've got to pass the gut check. What is the gut check? Everybody in America knows what a gut check is. It turns out where was I? I don't know, but I would guess I was in Georgia or something. Georgia the country, not Georgia. But I was somewhere, and they didn't know what a gut check was. They didn't, whatever. That was kind of interesting. So it doesn't always translate. But I'm hoping everybody here in the room knows what we mean by passing the gut test. We do know, in fact, the human body is wired in such a way that we have an immediate reaction to pretty much everything new that we see or hear, right? You meet a new person, you have an immediate reaction. Do I want to come closer? Do I want to run away? I mean, or something in between. But we have an immediate reaction to everybody we meet. We have an immediate reaction to everything we hear. If it's music, do I like it or not? If it's a thought, do I agree with it or not? We have this immediate reaction to most everything. And so the problem entrepreneurs have is a lot of entrepreneurs are not particularly good at making a good first impression. The main thing that entrepreneurs do that hurts them is they have a tendency to exaggerate. You've never heard this happen, right? You've never exaggerated, right? Every time you pitch your financial projections, I'm betting you say, and these are conservative, right? So, as soon as you make statements like that, the VCs want to run away, right? Because they know you are delusional. And you do not want to come across as delusional, much less as an outright liar, right? You don't want to come across that way. But if you come across as being unhooked from reality, you're going to destroy your credibility. You're going to lose the gut check. Does that make sense? So 3 body parts every time you connect with a person. The head, the heart, the gut. Okay, now this is the test part. Quiz. Which of the 3 body parts is most important? Okay. It is the heart. It is the heart. I wanted to find out if you're listening. The most important part is the heart. Yes, you have to pass the gut check, right? If you don't pass the gut check, you're not going to get there. But that's not sufficient. In order to get the follow-on, which is, hey, I want to hear more, hey, come, meet my partners, you've got to get them to fall in love. So how do you get them to fall in love? So you do not craft the typical elevator pitch. What is the typical elevator pitch? Well, it goes something like this. Coolco is a dynamic company that has developed a revolutionary technology that's going to disrupt our $56 billion industry. Our team has over 45 years of combined experience, and we have 3 patents pending. We project that our curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, transformative solution will blah, 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 blah. Right? I have a whole file on my phone of intro paragraphs from entrepreneurs that sound pretty much just like that, right? So don't do this, okay? This is kind of how you come across. You do not want to be this person. Now, the other side of the spectrum, this is a company, they came into our office, they put up their slide, and they really said this. This is what they said. They said, well, we use a 2048 Diffie-Hellman key exchange and 256-bit triple DES to provide impenetrable encryption for your IoT devices. Now, this audience, I'm betting half of you actually know what that means. I get it, okay? but there are a lot of us who do not know what this means off the top of our head. And so our reaction is this, and their situation was this. You do not want to be here, right? This is not where you want to be. So what you want to do is you want to figure out how to get to wow. So now I'm going to give you a little bit more precise approaches to getting to wow, starting with how not to get to wow. So this is the controversial part of the program. What I'm going to tell you is you've probably heard a lot of pitch coach wisdom. You've probably read books and blogs, et cetera, all about pitching. And I'm going to tell you that a bunch of things you've heard are just simply plain wrong. You've been taught by presentation coaches, not by VC pitch coaches, and there's a big difference between a presentation and a pitch. So, what is the typical pitch coach wisdom? Well, the first thing is pretty much every template on the planet says start with the problem. Because, you lay out the problem, you build the tension. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. And then you bring in the solution, and you're saving the universe, and God bless you, right? That's the way a presentation coach will teach you, to craft the arc of your narrative, problem, solution, right? But I will tell you, the result of this coaching is these teams, they come into our office, and, they put up a slide. The name of the company is some URL they were able to get, but doesn't mean anything, right? And so they say, before we tell you what we're doing here, let's start with the problem. And they put up a slide that shows, I used to say, it shows Beijing, with an orange ball in the sky reflecting pollution. I could also say it's Canada. I could say it's, whatever. But they show a picture of horrible, horrible pollution. And they go through 5 minutes of telling us how much carbon we put into the atmosphere every year and all the sources of carbon in the atmosphere and, teaching us that there's a thing called, global warming or climate change and, carbon is an issue. We know this, okay? You don't have to teach us this. Or, typical life science company, right? We're a life science company. Let's tell you what the problem is. The problem is, believe it or not, people die from cancer. And you know how many people die from? 857,000 people in America died from lung cancer last year. Now, I did not know that it was 857,000. Fine, but I knew cancer's a problem, okay? If you walk in and say, hey, guess what? We cure cancer. I'll be impressed. I don't need to know how many people die from cancer in order to be excited about a cure for cancer. I don't need to know how many trillion tons of carbon dioxide we dump into the atmosphere to be excited about a game-changing decarbonization technology. Okay, so my point is, stop spending your time talking about the problem and cut to the chase. Tell us what your solution is. And if you tell us what your solution is, I guarantee you, so we'll find out here. Some of you are pitching, right, later on. I guarantee you that if you tell us the solution, we know the problem you're solving. Now, maybe 1 out of 20 of you need to clarify that. Maybe 1 out of 20. And these guys think they're all the 1 out of 20, I bet, right? We'll see how that goes. But, so just tell us your solution, and then tell us your benefits. Guess what? Your benefits are the problem you solve. And so if you tell us the solution and the benefits, that gets us much more engaged than talking about climate change. So the second thing that every pitch coach will tell you, sorry to story seller, wherever you went, but yeah, thank you. But every pitch coach will tell you that you need to tell a story, right? Storytelling is sort of the most powerful art that any communicator could possibly develop. Okay, it is true, stories are a powerful way to communicate. But what happens is, because some pitch coach told you to tell a story, we get this entrepreneur comes into our audience and puts up the slide and says, before I tell you about the company, let me tell you a story. When I was a child, my grandfather had a farm. And during the summers, I would go down to the farm and spend the summers with my grandparents. And now, on the farm, there was a pond. And in the afternoons, I would go down to the pond, and across the pond, there were some woods. And I would look at the woods, and I would think about blah, 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 right? And it's a lovely, lovely, lovely story. Thank you so much. But a pitch is not the time to tell that story. Okay? You got it. It's valuable to have an origin story. It is valuable to have an origin story. You can tell it to me over dinner, okay? Over a beer, whatever. I'd love to hear your origin story. But don't try telling it during the pitch until the Q&A session. If somebody asks you, maybe, whatever. But if you can figure out how to tell a story in one sentence, though, I'll let you tell a story in one sentence. And I'll explain to you at the end how to tell a story in one sentence, okay? So then the other thing everybody is doing, it drives me nuts, it drives VCs nuts, is pitch coaches say, those VCs, they're greedy bastards, right? And they want you to be a unicorn. And so what's the best way to be a unicorn? To show a big market, right? And so every entrepreneur in every business, types into Google, how big is the auto parts industry? Well, the auto parts industry, is a $756 billion industry in the United States alone. Cool, great, right. So they say our TAM is $756 billion, as if that's going to convince us that this company that is doing an auto parts distribution software product is got, an inevitable success. No. Your success is not a function of the size of your market. Your success is not a function of the size of the market. What is your success a function of? Closer. How many customers you get, right? Now, I have never seen a company fail because the market was too small. I mean, the reason companies fail is because they don't get enough customers. Just because a market is big doesn't mean you're going to get more customers. In fact, if a market's big, there's some situations where it's likely it's going to be harder to get customers, right? Because it's an established market with established players. Everybody already buys champion spark plugs. You come out with a new spark plug, that doesn't mean just because it's a big market, you're going to get a lot of business. No, right? So, showing a big market is delusional when it comes to trying to convince investors that you're going to be successful. What we want to know is that you have done the work to identify your ideal customers, that you know where they are, You know how to get to them. You've shown you've already been able to reach them. You may or may not have revenues yet, but you can get to them. You can get them to try your product at least. And that eventually that you know that they need it, they'll pay for it, and they will become customers, right? That's what we want to hear, not $756 billion. So show us that you really, really, really know who your customers are and how to get them and how to convert them, okay? So, and then the last thing that you'll hear from every pitch coach is, and here's the perfect template, right? But templates were never designed for your company. They were designed as kind of a checklist of everything you should probably touch on, but it might not be everything you should touch on. So you can look at the template and think about, how it makes sense for you. But when you organize your pitch, you should think about what are the obvious questions that any investor will be wanting to get the answers to, and you should knock down those obvious questions in the order that they are obvious. So if you're a life sciences company, immediately every investor is wondering, where are you relative to FDA? If you are, so depending upon the company, if you're a gaming company, they want to know how many downloads do you have, right? So depending upon the business that you're in, investors are going to have obvious questions they're going to want the answers to. And until you answer the obvious questions, they're not going to be listening to your description of your team or your life story or the problem you're solving, okay? So design your pitch to knock down the key questions in the order that investors are focused on your company, okay? So these will not get you to wow. So now, Rob is very eager for me to wrap this up. I'm going to try to wrap this up quickly so that we can get to the pitches. But before I do that, I'm going to blow the minds of the pitchers by telling them what they should be doing in the next 5 minutes, okay? So we'll see, okay? So what do you need to do in order to get to wow? I call it the 3 C's. You've got to be clear, you've got to be compelling, and you've got to be credible. So you've got to be clear about what it is you do. If we don't know what you're doing, then it's hard to get excited about your business. And it's just stunning to me how many entrepreneurs cannot simply, in one sentence, make it clear what it is they're doing. So you've got to be clear about what you're doing. That just obviously makes sense, right? It's the challenge is you think you're clear, but you're not. So you got to get outsiders to validate that you're being clear. Then you got to be compelling. This is where the heart beats faster, right? It's compelling that gets me to wow. So how much better are you than anything else out there? You've got to be 10x better. You've got to be sort of wow category better, right? And then you've got to be credible. What evidence do you have that what you're saying is true? Now, you may be pre-revenue, but you've got, a Nobel laureate from Stanford who is telling you that, who is signed up to be part of your company. Okay, that's kind of a credibility answer. So there are all sorts of signals that investors look for around credibility, even pre-revenue. Obviously, if you have revenue and you're growing at a hockey stick rate, that's pretty credible as well. So be clear. Connect with the head. Be compelling. Get my heart beating faster. Be credible. Pass the gut check, right? Okay, so how do you do that? So what I'm telling you actually is this is not just about pitching. This is not the narrow venture capital pitch point. This is about all of your communications for the rest of your life, okay? all of your business communication, well, personal as well, maybe, it depends on who you're pitching. But all of your communications for the rest of your life, right? Be clear, be compelling, be credible. That makes sense anytime you're trying to get a point across, doesn't it? So my point is, you can use this sort of everywhere in your business, not just pitching to investors. There's a version for pitching to customers. There's a version for pitching to prospective employees, prospective partners, for PR, for your website, for your boilerplates. This point about clear, compelling, credible applies to all of your communications. So how do you do it? First, so I'm going to try to give you the 20-second version. The 20-second version is, first sentence, do you have a sentence that makes it clear what it is you do? A simple sentence, Not we're a curve jumping, paradigm shifting, disruptive technology, blah, 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 but something that a good reporter would actually put in the lead paragraph of a story. What is the sentence that a good reporter would use? They won't say, I just met this disruptive curve jumping. They won't say that, right? What's the sentence that they can use? Just give it to them. Make it easy. Make their life easy. Give them that sentence. What is your sentence? Okay, so that's the first sentence. Second sentence is, what's the compelling benefit you deliver? Are you 10 times better? Are you 1/10 the cost? Do you last 10 times longer? What is your compelling benefit for your customers? Now, your compelling benefit is not your technology. Your technology is not your compelling benefit. But almost every entrepreneur thinks their technology is their compelling benefit. Well, we use silicon nitride, right? So, that's not your compelling benefit. It's the result, the benefit your customer realizes because of your technology. What is that benefit, and is it measurable? Can you quantify it? Can you put a number on it? And then third sentence, what's the evidence that you've got that what you're saying is true? How are you different from everyone else, and what is your proof? So I will tell you, again, one of the things that I learned very quickly, as soon as a VC spends, a year or two being a VC, they've heard everything, right? And so as soon as you open your mouth, this is your problem. As soon as you open your mouth, what goes on in the back of the VC's head is, oh yeah, I've heard this before. What was the name of that company? Yeah, they came in, I met them at that trade show. Yeah, that was, what is their name? And they're sitting there smiling, you can't tell. But that's what's going on in the back of their heads. So you've got to shut that down as fast as you can. You've got to say, now, you might have heard of other companies that do something kind of like this, but, like maybe this or this or this. But unlike those companies, what we do is this, this, and this. And that's proven by the fact that A, B, and C have each decided to use our technology rather than theirs, or whatever it is, right? So that's your credibility, okay? So, what do you do better than anyone? What's your compelling benefit? How are you different, and what is your proof? You should be able to do that in 20 or 30 seconds. So you should be able to get this down in 20 or 30 seconds, okay? Now, what I said before, and I'll share the slides to anybody who wants the slides. I think, Rob, I'm not sure how we do the slides. We share the slides somehow. So, but thank you for wanting to take pictures. So, usually at this point, somebody raises their hand and says, wait a second, Bill, you said we shouldn't follow templates. And that kind of looks like a template. Okay. But, okay, so first I will tell you, no matter what, you need these 3 sentences, right? You need these 3 sentences. So you've got to be able to tell people what you do, right? So you've got to be able to articulate your compelling value proposition. So you need the 3 sentences, but maybe you do your wow in a different way. Maybe you can do it using an alternative approach. And one of the things that I said before is, if you can tell a story in 1 sentence, that could work. So that 1 sentence is going to be a sentence that might start with, imagine if. So if you can tell a story or paint a picture about how the universe is different and better after your particular solution comes to the world, that could be very compelling. So that might be a way to put it all together. Imagine if you had an application that could pull together all of your messages from all your emails, your messaging apps, your Slack, into one unified messaging solution, so you would never lose track of an email from Rob. Right? I'm sorry. I mean, your life would be better, right? Okay. So another thing you can do that works pretty well is use an analogy, to clarify what it is you're doing. So I don't mean to say, we're going to be the Google of this or we're going to be the Uber of that. I mean, there's a chance that maybe you are. But, this was a little bit more esoteric analogy. A company out of West Africa that said, we are going to be the SAP for blood banks in West Africa. Okay, I'm sort of in the zone. I mean, fortunately, I know what SAP does. SAP for blood banks, who knew, right? So it got us in the right place, framing it that way. Or another way to get to wow is if you can drop a really big name, right? If you can drop a really big name, then that might be, it's totally different than everything I've told you, right? It's totally separate from everything I've told you. But if you've got a really big name you can drop, then go ahead and drop it up front. So, one of my favorite example of this is I was in New Zealand, and I was at an elevator pitch competition judging, and a woman gets up and says, "Hi, my name is Claudia. We've developed special effects software for the entertainment industry. Last year, we won the Academy Award." And then she went on for 3.5 more minutes, and I said at the end, "Claudia, you had me at Academy Award," right? So counterexample. Team comes into our office, 60-minute meeting. They go through their long slide deck. The last slide is the team slide. On the team slide, it turns out one of the co-founders is a Nobel laureate. Okay, wow, right? So I say, "Wow, really, Bill Sharp is one of the co-founders of this company?" They said, "Yeah," right? And I said, "Well, why didn't you tell us that at the beginning?" They said, "Well, we wanted to end with a bang." I said, "Yeah, but if you told us at the beginning, we would have listened." Okay, so in any case, I'm going to wrap it up, okay, with some final tips. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. It's got to be spoken language, not written language. Spoken language is different than written language. So I hope you understand that. Be customer focused. Stop talking about your products. Stop talking about your products. Stop talking about your technology. Talk about the benefits you deliver to customers, and then you can explain how you do that, okay? And then use 1 or 2 numbers. Quantify your compelling benefit. What's the number you want us to walk away with? One of my favorite pitches, this entrepreneur tells me, "Bill, what if I told you we could accelerate big data analytics by 100x without changing your hardware?" So I'll never forget that pitch, right? It was a 15-second pitch. I'll never forget that pitch. So, and then please, please, please don't lie, okay? Please don't lie. So now, you think you don't lie. I know you all think you don't lie, but you got to go to Google Reichert top 10 lies, and you'll hear all about the top 10 lies of entrepreneurs. And then the flip side of that, I'll send you the slides about what all the different pitches you've got to do, and because there are a bunch of different pitches you've got to put together, okay? So you can't get away with just kind of one set of slides everywhere you go. I'm sorry, I apologize, but that's your reality, okay? You need different pitches. And then this is our sort of laundry list, checklist of things that you should cover, which happen to all be covered in this book called Getting to Wow, okay, which happens to be available at an Amazon.com near you. And so with that, the last little sort of fun tidbit. If you go on the internet, you should be able to find the top 10 terrible, horrible, very bad slides. So that also is a way I tried to communicate some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make on their slides. Okay, Rob, I'm sorry I went long, but we're
let's give
still
it up
okay.
for Bill.
All right.
So Bill, you did
So what's the
exceed
deal?
expectations. You also exceeded the time limit. Anyway, that was beyond brilliant, compelling, dynamic, entertaining, and scintillating. But now it's time for elevator pitches. 1 minute, no slides, followed by 5 minutes of feedback from Bill.
Ha ha ha.
This is a law firm, so we're in compliance. No presenter will deliver a verbal ask, but we have written executive summaries, and we'll pass that on to Bill. This is not a contest. No offense to contests. No one's going to get a first, second, third prize. No one's going to get a certificate or a trophy. No one's going to get a T-shirt or a hoodie or a book. Bill is a serious investor. Look how serious he is. And he's going to listen to serious entrepreneurs. And realistically, Bill is not going to write a check tonight or give anyone cash tonight. But Bill may be interested in having a second conversation, and that would be an outstanding result. Joe is our timer
Timekeeper?
and our bouncer. So
Okay.
if any of the presenters exceed the time limit, you'll have to deal with Joe.
So who's up next, Rob?
All right, next up, we have Wendy and building education. Applause.
Hey, Wendy, how you doing?
I'm great, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm spectacular. So tell me, what are you up to?
Yeah, so I am founder of Building Education. We are a nonprofit organization that serves to build safe schools in developing countries to end the cycle of extreme poverty. And ultimately, what we do is we go into remote and rural areas. We build schools, water systems, energy, and hydroponic systems to create more sustainable communities. Our very first, our impact to date includes 4 school projects, 3 water systems, 2 playgrounds, and 1 university student that has graduated. In addition to that, our very first water project supported 110 homes to have access to water, and it reduced our death rate by 90% in the village. And as for the hydroponic system, it provides a clean source of nutritious food at the schools that also has been generating $100 per month for every school.
Okay, wow, thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Okay. Okay, so this is what I heard, okay? So I'm Wendy with Building, how are you, Bill? I'm great, okay. So I'm Wendy with Building Education. We're a nonprofit company. We are building schools in developed countries to try to end the cycle of poverty, around the world. We build these schools, plus we do water, we do energy, we do hydroponic systems. And then we've got, a bunch of things going, 2, 3, 4 things going that we've done. And we've got 1 person who actually graduated from university. And our water has reduced the death rate by 90%. And our hydroponics have generated $100 of income. So, okay, that's what I heard. Okay, did I miss something important?
No, but I missed my mission. I missed the part to say that our mission is 1,000 schools.
Okay.
So I missed that part.
Okay. All right. So not my fault. Okay.
Yeah, that was mine. Our mission is 1,000 schools,
Okay.
but ultimately we serve to eliminate the cycle of extreme poverty.
Okay. So So I'm a VC, right? So this nonprofit concept is hard for me to grok, right? Okay. No, I'm sorry. No, I do get it. I actually do get it. And the side story is that we funded a company called Delight Design. Have you heard the Delight Design story? Do you know the Delight Design story?
I think I heard it. I watched it on your YouTube
Oh,
video.
okay. Okay. So part of my reaction here is, why can't you make this a for-profit?
I can with the hydroponic systems, but we're also, we're already fundraising and we're able to generate donations that way.
Yeah.
And so the way that we're planning to scale is to fundraise in multiple cities. Right now we're
Yeah.
in San Francisco, LA, and Seattle. So I think
Okay.
once I build more stability within and create kind of like a fundraising machine within my team,
Yeah.
then I want to create a for-profit model.
Okay,
of it.
okay. No, I mean, so the Delight Design story is 4 students from Stanford come to our office, 2 MBAs, 2 engineers, and say, we've developed a solar rechargeable lantern for the 2 billion people on the planet who do not have access to reliable grid electricity. And they describe all this, sort of the horrors of not having electricity, et cetera, and using kerosene lamps instead, which, cause asthma and burn down buildings and create climate warming, right? All these bad things. And at the end of it, we say, hey, that's great. Good luck with you guys. You're one of those philanthropic nonprofit things, right? They said, no, Bill, you don't get it. If we're going to change the lives of 2 billion people on the planet, we have to build a big, profitable, global, successful, company. And we go, whoa, we love these guys. I would love it. So I think if you can find a way to make this, one of the big things in philanthropy is sustainability, right? The way you've designed your model is you got to keep raising money in order to build buildings to fulfill your mission. If there was some way, I wish we could brainstorm and figure it out for Wendy today, maybe.
I think the hydroponic systems.
Maybe,
really, yeah,
okay.
Or some type of.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, so that's my, my Silicon Valley VC perspective on this is even the philanthropic, foundations want to know that there's some sort of flywheel that will enable you to sort of reach escape velocity so you're not dependent upon them forever. So that's my best shot.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. All right, yep.
All right, next up, we have Brad and Brand Ninja. Applause.
All right. Hey, Brad, how you doing?
G'day, Bill. I'm great. I've come all the way from Australia just to pitch you tonight.
Oh, g'day, mate.
Great effort.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. So, Bill, imagine that when you go to Starbucks in the morning for your coffee, between the time that you've ordered it and the time they call your name, you've already got all of your social content done for the day. Isn't that the dream? So Brand Ninja offers autonomous AI agents that source trending content that's relevant to your brand and repurpose it with text, images, and videos so that's ready for you to post. And we have an MVP, or really a beta that's in market at the moment with 20 paying customers, including 2 of Australia's largest sporting leagues. We closed our pre-seed round with a strategic investor back in May. And we have a team currently working on the product. I've done a number of startups myself in the past, and we're really looking to scale this out in a big way. And we believe content is war, and that you want Brand Ninja on your side.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right. So here's what I heard. Bill, imagine if, so immediately you threw me. So imagine if when you go to Starbucks in the morning, between the time you order and the time you get your coffee, you've completed all of your social media postings for the day. So, of course, what you have to appreciate is that I hate Starbucks, I do Pete's, okay? Okay. So I'm sitting there thinking, with Starbucks, are you kidding me? So that's a distractor, right? So you gotta be careful. So I would just say, you order your coffee in the morning because there's a certain percentage of people who don't like Starbucks, right? And so that's a distractor, right? So, side point. Okay, so we're Brand Ninja. And what we do is we take, a bunch of relevant content from the web, and we paste a bunch of, sort of stuff on top of that that's relevant to you, and then we distribute it around, so that you get, a lot of stuff done without even having to bother with anything, was the implied thing. We've got a bunch of people who are doing this. Some, and you mentioned some different components of the company that are doing this, and I didn't hear customers, I didn't hear traction. I heard you've got people, but I didn't hear customers. Did I miss something?
20 paying customers using our beta.
Wow, okay.
2 of Australia's largest sporting leagues.
Okay, so.
Might be the accent.
Interesting. It wasn't the accent. No, it's an interesting question. So this is a real interesting challenge, which is it's partly the delivery. So one of the things, if you string a whole bunch of stuff together, then the brain may, absorb the front end, but lose the back end. And so you were talking about your people, and that they were doing this and they were doing that, and probably that's when you tagged on. We got 20 paying customers, including 2 of. But your tone was pretty flat the whole way through. So this is now presentation coaching, not pitch coaching. I'm sorry, but so the good news is everybody loves an Australian accent. So you're in luck in that regard. But in terms of the way you deliver, you've got to put some emphasis on the right syllable. Okay. So figure out where you want to stick it in the way you're talking, so that you can only make so many points in a limited amount of time. What the bit about the people, I got trapped in all of that. Who's doing what where? Because you talked about...
It's AI agents. There's no people. I mean, there's
Okay.
developers, but
Right, you have developers. You said something. I can't remember what it was, but I got distracted by trying to track what you were saying. So again, just one brain. I mean, I'm guessing everybody other than me heard the 20 paying customers and the 2 biggest Australian companies, right? Okay, so they did hear it, right? Okay, so but just sort of in general, just make sure that your voice emphasizes the key points that you want to make when you're pitching. Okay, back to, give me the sentence that you actually said about, can you give me, do you remember that sentence? What was that sentence again?
which sentence?
The one that after the description of, what you do with content. Then you said, we believe content is king and content is war, and Brand Ninja, you need Brand Ninja on your side for whatever. But
Yeah.
before that, you said the stuff about kind of where you are.
Attraction.
Yeah, is that what you
Yeah.
said? What was that sentence again?
So we have a beta in market with 20 paying customers, including 2 of Australia's largest sporting leagues.
Okay.
Is that it? And then we
Okay.
have also recently closed our pre-seed round with a strategic investor in Australia.
Okay. I did hear beta in market.
Yeah.
I did hear beta in market. I did hear that. But okay. All right. So okay. Good on you, mate. So you raised some pre-seed money. Why are you here?
We're raising a seed round at the moment,
Okay. So, and are you coming to the U.S.?
most likely.
So the other point, is because I had the impression you were down there, and so you're up here now, and so part of the engagement up here would be, kind of, it's an obvious question, why are you here? You may not be able to do that in 20 seconds, but Rob generously is giving you a whole minute. So, all right, thanks a lot. Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Aaron and Pando Electric. Applause.
All right.
Hey, Bill, nice to meet you.
Hey, Aaron, great to meet you. So tell me, what are you up to?
So talking about this one, this is our demo sample. So the EV charging market for buildings and apartments is over $40 billion in the coming years. But there are 2 challenges. One, the transformer capacity is limited to support enough power. Second, the chargers are hard to deploy and maintain at scale. We have the solution. The smart outlet can be deployed to every EV spot, and the load management can serve all EVs through the smart algorithm. So where's the wow? First, we are the only one in the market that provides such a scalable and powerful solution. Second, our team are from Apple, Google, and the EV industry that together we have more than 50 years working experience. Third, our product is proudly made in USA and is UL certified. Fourth, we have 1 confirmed customer and 4 in the pipeline. We're ready to deploy in October, and we're open to seed round fund.
Okay, wild applause. Okay. Okay, so we're Panda Electric. So, by the way, side point, excuse me for this, but Brand Ninja, the other thing that got me going, have I heard you before? Where are you? Where'd he go? Where'd Brand Ninja go? Okay, because again, I've heard that story before, but I know there's one company that's brand something, that I almost associate with New Zealand. And then there's another company that's Ninja something. And so that was the other thing that was a distractor for me, was that where have I heard the Ninja story before? But so that relates to Panda here, because have we talked before? We haven't. Okay, because so then I don't know if I've seen it or heard it. I guess I didn't talk to you before, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this. Now, do you have a website up?
Yes, we do. We have a
Okay.
website.
So I think I've seen it because, we have been actively looking at this, so we know there's a big problem with electrification for EVs because multi-tenant buildings have this challenge, right? And the challenge is partly power and then partly space. So I heard you solving the power problem, but not the space problem. Is that what you're doing? So in other words, this is not a charger. This is simply a charge distribution transformer of some sort, right?
Very similar. This is a smart outlet. It
Right.
both solve the power problem, but for the space, it is compact. So it saves space.
Yeah, but I still need to have chargers in every parking place, right?
You need the portable charging cable, which comes with every EV, like Ford, like Tesla.
Right.
It is the charging cable with the bubble.
Right, but then I got to plug it into something. I can't plug 5 charging cables into this.
You are right.
Okay, so now how many of those do I need for the 6 spaces in the garage?
So it can be deployed for all your 6 EV spaces. It can be used as a shared ones, or it can be used as dedicated ones to each of the user, each of the driver.
Well, if it's dedicated, then how are you smart across all 6 of them?
So if your transformer can only allow one charging at one time, so I will do them in sequence. I have the algorithm to make sure do this smart at 2 a.m.
Okay.
and 4 a.m.
Okay.
Some car is always charging.
Okay, so one of the problems here now what happened is, what you wouldn't know is what nobody knows is how much baggage I bring to each conversation, right? So I'm bringing the baggage I'm bringing is that we have been looking very specifically at EV charging. It happened just almost for fun. We invested in AmpUp, if you know the AmpUp guys, which nice, but we have been seriously concerned about this problem, solving this problem, and so we've looked at a bunch of companies that are trying to solve the apartment building problem for the exact reason. For the exact reason that you know. So now, what does that mean for you? Well, first of all, so we know what you do. You're a smart plug. You're not a smart charger. You're almost a smart charger, but not a smart charger. One of the issues that everybody's trying to figure out in apartment buildings is how do I charge? How do I get people to pay for the amount of electricity they use? You don't seem to be solving that problem.
Yes, I am. So this user can have the app and pay by their credit card.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are going to, so that assumes there's an internet connection.
Yes.
Right, and that's a problem in basements sometimes, right?
So we have the dual mode using Bluetooth.
Okay.
When the internet, the Wi-Fi is weak.
Okay, all right. So in any case, I'm going down a rat hole, which I shouldn't be going down, but that's what VCs sometimes do. So in terms of Panda Electric, you almost disappointed. So at the very end, in terms of your traction, you've got people who are interested, but how many installations do you have now?
So we were starting to deploy in October. Now we have one confirmed customer, so no deployment yet.
Okay. And I'm sorry, but I do need to follow up with you. So I do need to follow up with you, okay? All right, we can have a longer conversation, all right? Okay, but I need a card or Rob will connect us. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right. Thank you, Rob, for inviting Aaron.
Okay, next
Okay.
we have Jeff from Solaritus AI. Applause.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi,
Hey,
Bill.
Jeff, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet
Thanks
you.
for doing this. Last time I saw you, we were closing down Silicon Valley Bank, right?
You were there.
I
You were
was
there?
there.
You were there,
Yes.
okay. So you've heard, oh, okay. Okay, brief
We should have stayed all
interlude
night,
here.
right?
So the brief interlude was the last time I did this with Rob it was like March 7th or something, but it was literally the Thursday night. We were at Silicon Valley Bank. We were in the Kellogg Auditorium at Silicon Valley Bank the night before they shut it down. And I talked to our Silicon Valley Bank host, And I said, so what's going on here? And he said, the market's kind of overreacting. And I said, oh, really? Do you think tomorrow morning when the market opens, should I buy some Silicon Valley stock? And he said, well, I can't really comment on that. But in any case, so we were together with Rob and a few others so it turned out one of the media people, somebody picked up on this. So, Google found my name in an article about the shutdown of Silicon Valley Bank. That's kind of the last VC out the door, right? So, in any case, side point, my wife was really, really, really upset. But that's okay, back to you, Jeff.
But Procopio is going to be in business tomorrow. Right?
I have no doubts. All right. All right. Good point. So, Jeff, tell me, what are you up to?
So my company, Celeritas, we do GPT-powered web applications for small businesses. So imagine if, instead of having to go to the websites of these 33 million small businesses across America, you could just talk to the content. You could just talk to them. Their customers could talk to them. And you wouldn't have to read these websites anymore. This is the future. This is where things are going. Now, I'm sure you've heard 100 pitches about GPT, but let's talk about the reality. Let's talk about Ben. Ben's a small business owner in Maine. He came to us. We showed him ChatGPT. He was blown away. He was like, this is great, but it doesn't know anything about my business. And neither does GPT know anything about most of these 33 million American businesses or any companies, small companies. So what we're doing is we're taking the data from the small businesses and we're giving these companies their own version of GPT so they could interface. So for Ben, we built an internal training app for him, for his internal employees. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds. Time out. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, hi, I'm Jeff, and our business, Celeritas AI, side point, I did Latin for 7 years, and so I would have said Celeritas, but in any case, that was a distractor, it turns out. But, okay, Celeritas AI, we are ChatGPT for small businesses. So imagine if instead of having to go to the website, you could just talk to the content. He had a very funny sentence in there about sort of talking with the content. I don't know, it wasn't quite a normal sentence, but you said something about talking to the content. And so what does that mean? So Ben has a small business, and I'm talking to Ben about how, to enable this, but the problem is he doesn't know my business and ChatGPT doesn't know his business, so we've developed something that will take his content and put it in our thing so everybody can have their own ChatGPT.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I heard.
Good.
And did I hear anything about traction or customers other than Ben? And then you said, what did you say?
I didn't get there.
You haven't done that yet. Okay.
Well, we have 4
there.
customers.
Okay.
For the first 6 months, we want to have 10.
Okay.
But we want to scale to 75,000 in 2 years.
Okay. So, so there's this explosion now of companies that are, sort of leveraging on, for the most part, open source large language models to enable people to, to layer on their own content on top of these so that you can do this. So my anxiety is that, there's bunches and bunches of guys that are going to have these, no-code, low-code tools to let everybody create their own ChatGPT, whatever, by themselves. Now, you were about to say, but the bell rang, this is harder than it sounds.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
we're patenting some stuff in that area.
Yeah.
So to take all this content and stuff it into the context of GPT is very, very difficult.
Right.
So my co-founder and I have 5 degrees from MIT between us, and we're patenting.
You guys are slow learners? Is that
Slow.
what you say? Okay.
Took us a while to get to Silicon Valley.
Sorry, okay.
Not Stanford material.
Sorry.
But we're patenting an approach where you can get much more of the content into GPT.
Okay, so now then you get into sort of trying to imagine what the user experience is going to be like with your app, and there's so part of what's going on in my brain, and I don't know about everybody else's brain, is for the most part it's easier to get to where you want to go on a website than talking to a chat bot. Because we've all learned how websites are organized roughly, and it's going to vary obviously from business to business to business. But why is this better? Why is it better? Why is it better? What's the benefit? What's the benefit to Ben, and what's the benefit to Ben's prospective customers that's going to make it, other than that it's kind of cool, but I'm going to go someplace and it's going to say, this is, talk to me. Is that what it's going to say?
Yeah, in Ben's case, his employees who are junior people don't have to read gigabytes of manuals and instructions and SOPs. They can just ask the questions that they have, and they get ramped up as new employees.
Okay, that's different than what I thought I heard. I thought you were going to take my website and turn it into a ChatGPT.
We could do that too.
Okay.
But that's the low-hanging fruit.
Okay, but that's what I heard, right? Is that what you guys heard? Right, okay. So now then your answer then was, we're going to take your training manuals and turn them into ChatGPT. Okay, that's a different pitch, isn't it?
Fair enough, yes.
Okay, so now I'm confused, all right. But, okay.
But
so
it's not just internal. You can do customer service, technical support. You could have the CEO talking to his or her customers.
I get it, and and I've seen a lot of this. So so I'm challenged right now to I want you to be more sharply focused on something that you and only you right now, sort of at the speed of chat, given that there are literally hundreds of people doing chasing web content, training manuals, blah, 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 right? Why are you going to get there faster with better quality than everyone else? So that's the big question for me. I think we all see this coming and we see how it can happen. I'm worried that it's going to be a commodity pretty soon, like saying, we can do text-to-speech.
We're getting paid $1,000 a month for this service right now. So it might become commoditized, but we got to keep up with the innovation. But thanks for the feedback.
Okay, with your one customer, is that what you said? How many customers?
We have 4.
With your 4 customers?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, we've come.
Okay, how are we doing?
This is our last presenter for tonight.
This is the last one?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Where is everybody? Okay, all right.
You asked for it. You got it. So anyway, last but not least, we have Bert from Infinirel. Applause.
All right, Bert.
Thanks you, Rob.
Hey, Bert. I'm Ernie. How you doing?
Bill, yes, I didn't bring Ernie tonight, but it was awesome flying in from Chicago. I heard you were like Chicago. You were in Chicago?
You picked up on that. You
I
got
picked up
from
on
my
that.
accent?
Yeah,
Is that how you
it's like
figured it out?
Chicagoan.
Yeah, right.
So thanks for hosting. This is awesome.
He's the host. I'm just
the MC.
whatever. Okay. So, Bert, tell me, what are you up to?
Yes, so Infinirel stands for infinite reliability. We hate blackouts.
Okay, so do I.
Exactly. When we put more solar and batteries on the grid and there's more blackouts, we prevent them. We have developed a technology, it's like an EKG, like for your heart, but we use it for electronics that's at the heart of solar plants. And by predicting failure, we prevent them. So our customers are the renewable energy plant asset owners and operators. And they lost last year about $1 billion in the US, only in solar. We cut this in half.
Okay.
With our prescriptive diagnostics that helps them to repair parts before they literally blow up. And the exciting part for our client, which happens to be a publicly traded energy developer, who has offered us a term sheet for a 3-year development agreement paid. Is we produce our own data. We make our own food, our own data to predict. Nobody in the industry is able to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bert. Okay. Okay, so this is what I heard. So we're Infinera, we stand for infinite reliability. And so don't you hate blackouts, right? We hate blackouts. So our job is to work with the solar we make sure, no, last year the solar industry lost $1 billion from blackouts. We cut that in half by monitoring. We monitor the solar plant, whatever that is, and do predictive analytics to prevent things before they literally explode. And so unlike anyone else, we make our own data. So I think I know what you mean by that, but it sounds funny.
Good.
So,
That's fun with it, right?
so that's what I heard.
That's correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay. So, all right. So now, how many people jumped up and down with excitement when they heard what Bert does? All right, we got someone. All right.
I'll pay you later.
I didn't see you literally, John. Is that your business partner?
No.
Okay. So, okay. Okay. The other piece, you missed what I missed. When I missed the big piece was we've got a public energy trading company that wants to do a 3-year paid project with us.
Right.
I also
That's a
heard
big deal.
that, but right. Is there anything else I missed? Anybody? Okay. So, okay, that's good. So thank you for, that was good. The 3-year, public traded, energy company. So now one of the challenges in the way you do this is that I, who have done solar investing, so I've done solar investing on a couple of different parts of it, panels and then management systems, actually. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out where you are in the value chain of solar. Where are you sitting? And so you've got, the way you described it, presumably you're doing solar farms, right?
Correct.
You could be doing big, commercial rooftop installations, maybe. I don't know if you are or not.
Later
Just
on,
farms?
when we scale up, but
Okay, just
all
farms.
the big, large farms.
Right. So, and that was partly the big public energy, whatever, that implies that they have a farm, and that's what you're doing.
Right.
And so you're predicting, so now the question is, you said before it literally blows up, so are you managing, so there are parts of a solar installation, and so the question is, you were so high level in sort of talking about solar predictive analytics that it was hard for me to imagine going back to my partners and saying, I talked to a guy from Infinera.
A lot of eyes. Yeah.
What?
A lot of eyes in there. Infinera.
Infinera. Okay. And he's got kind of a predictive analytics operating system for solar farms. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, so I'm trying to figure out.
Did you get the EKG though? That's the part.
That's right. You talked about EKG.
EKG is the heart.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. And that, yes, you talked about EKG, and that did not sing to me because I'm trying to figure out, so okay. So the whole point of an EKG is the electric signals in the heart, monitoring the electric signals in the heart. And so I'm down the rat hole of monitoring the electric signals in the heart. And so are you reaching out to the panels and the inverters? Are you looking at the transmission lines and what's going on there and the demand pull? And so there's a lot of stuff going on in a solar farm, right?
That is true.
So I'm still trying to figure out, but you're monitoring the equipment, I thought, right?
The inverter.
So
the electronics.
okay. So you are monitoring all the inverters. That's
Yeah,
what's going on.
focusing on inverters, that's the heart of the plant. Inverter dies, no power.
Okay, you could say the inverter's the heart. You could say it's the heart. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
the panels are
that's
the
a-
lungs, the inverters the heart.
Is that okay? Okay.
We
So
had a lot earlier.
the metaphor may not sing to everyone. So the EKG metaphor may not sing to everyone. But so my point here. Sorry. Okay. My point here is, and I thank you for doing this for me. Sometimes entrepreneurs, they elevate their description to such a high level that it's hard to imagine exactly what they are. So back to the be clear. Can someone who's not Bert's partner, can someone give me the one sentence? What does Infinirel do? Okay, what does Infinirel do? They pretty much develop a system that does a checkup for all of the devices on a solar plant. Okay, well, I think that's about right.
That's about right.
Yeah.
We do focus on the electronic part, but exactly. You hired.
Okay. Okay. So so you picked up on the we make our own data, right? Right. So that's how you knew it was AI that he's got to train. So, okay. All right, but you get my point. Do you get my point?
I get your point. Yeah.
That being a little bit more specific and concrete, you never said the word inverter, and yet you're saying inverters are the heart. You said heart, but you never said inverter. Now, it's quite possible that a lot of people don't know what an inverter does in a solar
that's the
panel.
problem. Sometimes they make
Right.
electronics just to be general.
Okay, but you never said electronics either.
Electronics at the heart? Well, we have a recording. Will be
Well,
interesting.
yeah, okay. You didn't say electronics. You said, we're like the EKG or something like that. But maybe you said electronics. Who cares?
It's
all
a
right.
German
So,
accent.
all right. So thank you, Bert. Okay.
Thank you, Bill, for your...
All right. Okay. Okay. So again,
I'll give you
what?
5 minutes for a postmortem.
So okay.
Then, Bill.
I can be faster than that.
If anyone wants, we'll do it.
What? Slides or the book? Or,
Well, if anyone
or-
wants to ask you a question,
Okay.
they can come up here to the mic stand, and then we'll have a.
Oh, okay.
But why don't you do your postmortem first?
Okay. So first. Some high-level points that came out, right? So a couple of you, sort of threw out a big number as if that meant you were going to be successful, right? Violating the big market, kind of delusion thing. Generally, though, by the way, I got to say, the group, you guys are pretty good. Right? I mean, and so normally what I like to do is more often ask the audience, do you understand what he just said? For the most part, I think most everybody was pretty good. There were a couple that were, a little bit hard to get in terms of being clear in terms of what you did. But so I think for the most part, you guys did a pretty good job of being clear. In terms of being compelling, I'd say we were sort of maybe 50-50 there. A lot of you think, a lot of the, God bless, is it Wendy with the nonprofit? I scared her away. She left. Okay, I feel bad. So, she had a lot of numbers in there. She had people dying, and she had hydroponics selling, and she had and she was the only one. So for the most part, you guys did a pretty good job of having a few numbers that were important. Sometimes, but be careful you don't throw out a lot of numbers that are not critical to your message. Okay? So, fair question. Has somebody found out how many divorces in America every year?
Yeah, it's actually less than 2 million, but there's like 800,000 that are divorces. That's less than that, yeah.
Okay. Really? Okay, really, that's all. That's kind of amazing. Okay, which is why you would think, because people are getting married every year, you would think that half of them are getting divorced every year. So, right? That math should add up. But okay, but that doesn't matter. So be careful with the numbers you throw out, because either people might not believe them, or their brains might get cluttered with numbers that are not critical to your message. So that was another point that I just wanted to make. But as you saw, every pitch was different, right? I mean, there's not a template that you can use to develop the perfect pitch. And it's one of the things that when we wrote the book, it drove us nuts. And because every entrepreneur I would work with said, Bill, stop telling us what we're doing wrong and just tell us how to do the perfect pitch. And I keep saying there is no recipe that everyone can follow for the perfect pitch. There are, however, some guidelines and some rules and some sort of frameworks you can use to improve the way you communicate your compelling value proposition. So that's what I'm hoping some of you got, today. So with that, did I say anything that didn't make sense? What?
So, Bill?
Yes.
This is what we're going to do. We're going to have a line of people have quick questions for you.
Okay.
And this is your book.
Okay.
We're going to give it to the person who you believe is asking you the most compelling.
Oh, really? I get to
question.
decide?
You decide.
I get to decide.
Yeah, it's your book.
You're going to blame it on me. Okay, all right.
So step
okay.
right up. The pitches are over, so no more
it's
pitches. Joe's here to regulate that.
The person that asked the best question, that's going to... Okay, what's your question?
Hi, Bill. I'm Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Are you at the point in your career where you're thinking about your legacy?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. That was a wow. That was a wow. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Todd. Who's up next? Are you okay? All right.
Hi, Bill. I'm Anthony Moose.
Anthony, thank you.
First off, I want to thank you and your team for giving my team Ageless AI free tickets to last year's Startup World Cup. It was a phenomenal event. If anyone hasn't been to it, the next one is coming up. Highly recommend you go. All right. My question is...
Okay, this guy's getting a book. Smart. Good job.
Do I get a free signature?
Yeah, what's the question?
All right. Who is the most ambitious founder you invested in and why?
Ambitious?
Most ambitious founder.
Ambitious?
Yes.
Or my favorite founder?
Favorite.
Okay. Most ambitious founder that we invested in and why. So I will tell you, I'm torn. I'm really torn. But I will say that probably, the sort of deepest sort of love is for a guy named Tim Westergren. Tim Westergren was the founder of Pandora Media. Does everybody here know Pandora? So Tim was the founder of Pandora, and Pandora went bankrupt 3 times. And just by sheer force of will and commitment, Tim kept it going. When everybody sort of lost faith or whatever, Tim figured out how to keep it going. And Tim is the entire reason for the success of Spotify, because Tim and Pandora were the ones that figured out how to get the record labels to simplify and consistify the licensing royalty system in the United States. And if Tim had not done that work, Spotify would not exist. But having said that, so Tim, fast forward, on June 15th, 2011, Pandora went public. Tim asked me to be the one of his investors who got to go on Bloomberg to be the Pandora story for the day of the IPO. And so I have a soft spot in my heart for Tim, but it was, again, the sheer will and persistence and conviction that he had to make this happen was I'll never forget. And just such a nice, mild-mannered guy, not a bombast, not an egomaniac, not a control freak, just a solid, committed, smart, persistent, robust, unbelievable guy. But I could tell you about 5 other founders that I love as well. But that was good. And so, Anthony, I do want to thank you. All right. Okay. There's 2 more chances. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll make.
Thank you for that. That was great.
So we are going to make a competition. But having said that, to Anthony's point about the Startup World Cup, I want to personally invite all of you to come next Thursday. Rob, am I right? Where's Rob? So next Thursday, we're doing the Silicon Valley regional competition for the Startup World Cup here at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View. And so Rob has a special deal for all members, participants in Idea to IPO that will enable you to get a special deal to come next Thursday, Computer History Museum, 5:30 in the afternoon. The game starts at 6. And it's going to be the regional competition. Startup World Cup is a global competition. It's one of the biggest and richest competitions on the planet with what? Define rich. I'm going to. So I'm going to define big in terms of, so we've run competitions in over 70 innovation hubs around the world, 6 continents. This year we're going to do about 50. The winner from each one of those competitions comes to Silicon Valley at the end of November to compete for a $1 million grand prize. So, wow, is right. So if you want to see one of our bigger regionals, and one of the hotter, more competitive regionals is the Silicon Valley regional, as you might guess, Computer History Museum next Thursday evening. Rob, what do they do to get in?
You're all going to get an email from me, and you'll get a discount.
Okay.
Up to 15% off. Yeah.
All right. Wow. All right.
Well, some special people will get a
Okay.
bigger.
Thank you, Rob. And thank you, Anthony, for getting that going. All right. Okay. Who's up next? And how are we doing on time? Oh, Rob, aren't you supposed to be monitoring the time here?
It's your lucky day.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name's Ankit. I'm the founder of Startup Ed. Sorry I kept you from giving that book to the gentleman.
Okay, all right. Okay.
More people.
Okay. Knock my socks off.
2 operational fundraising questions for you.
Okay. Is this the entire line? How long is this line? No, it's just. Okay, all right. It's not okay. Yes, keep going.
So the story to Wow that you shared was really compelling, and I was very convinced.
Okay.
Is that different? And you shared what not to do.
Yeah.
But is that different for an associate in your firm versus the partner who signs the check? The what to do and what not to do for the Wow?
No, it's the same for any investor, for any investor, for an angel investor, for an associate, for a partner, for a corporate investor. The principles are the same. Now, you've got to know your customer, right? So, same when you're selling. You got to know your customer. So if you're talking to a partner, you want to make sure you know what other companies that person is invested in. Most associates have not done a lot of investing, but they're part of a firm that has a bunch of investments. You got to know what they're involved with. Most angels are harder to find out what they've invested in, but you got to know what their appetite is. So depending upon what they've invested in, you got to make sure that when you connect with them, that you show that you've done your homework, that you know who you're not a generic pitch. It's a personalized pitch for everyone. So, and we didn't really get into that, but thank you for bringing that point up. You want to make sure that you tailor the pitch. Probably the wow part is not going to change a lot, but if you're trying to get a meeting, that's going to be very dependent on doing your homework. And if you're going to do, a longer conversation, if you have a longer conversation, that's going to certainly, the homework's going to come out in that conversation.
And the second question is, should we bring up the ask in the pitch?
It depends on the situation, right? It depends on where you are. If it's, if you're standing in the shrimp line at a trade show, then you want to get the wow across first and find out, are they interested? Are they engaged? Nobody's going to be interested in the fact that you're raising money. The only reason why they're going to care what the answer is to whether you're raising money is if they care about your company. So the fact that you're raising money and then how much you're raising has got to be secondary and tertiary. And so again, depending on the situation, I wouldn't say, and we're looking for $5 million, blah, blah, blah. I would say, and we're raising our post-seed round or our seed round or whatever. I would say, we're going to go out this fall to raise our seed round. If they've already shown interest, then, you might be able to follow up with that. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. There's a whole separate discussion on fundraising, right? That's a whole separate workshop. But, okay, Danny.
There we go. Thank you for coming. I'm really curious about how your model, everything you presented today was amazing stuff, but the existing model, if I were to call it the existing model, where everybody says, you should have this, this, and this, and this, they seem to have some success because it's what they want to hear. It's what they're expecting to hear. They're expecting to see what is the market size, what is, X, Y, and Z. I need to have this in the deck that you showed me, or else, what are you doing here?
Yeah. So, okay. Did I hear a clap back there? Okay. So this is a fair point, and this is one of my frustrations with my colleagues. And so, yes, every time I have this discussion with an entrepreneur, I say, the unfortunate reality is that half of the investors you're going to talk to are going to say, what's your TAM? So half the investors you talk to are going to say, what's your TAM? And first of all, does everybody know what a TAM is? Anybody who doesn't know what a TAM is? Okay, so your TAM, your TAM is your total addressable market. And that's the 757 billion number that people dig off of Google, or the $800 million number that, for divorces. So half of the investors you talk to will ask you, what's your TAM? Because they're the associate at the firm and they have a checklist, and every checklist includes your market size. So now it's important that you do your TAM the right way. Most entrepreneurs, it's okay to have a TAM. It's okay to do this work. What really counts is what's called your SAM. Your SAM is your serviceable addressable market. So if TAM is the global possibility, SAM is whatever geography you're able to penetrate initially. That's your SAM. But half the investors you talk to are going to want you to have an answer to what is your market size. And so you need to go do the work that I told you have to go do, which is to say, identify who your target customers are. Your target customers are the people in the geography you're going to serve who have the potential to buy your product. Your target customers are not millennials. Not every millennial is going to buy your product, right? So they could be, millennials who live in urban areas, who have pets, who also have jobs or something, I don't know, whatever, right? For a pet care business, for example. So you should do some form of bottom-up market sizing work. So you should have a number that is the bottom-up market sizing work, and when you talk about your market opportunity, you can say, so initially we're targeting this ideal customer, which represents, whatever it is, 2.5 million people in America. And so, so we would calculate on the basis of that, our serviceable addressable market, or our market opportunity, would be $100 a month for an average of 6 months times 2.5 million, that's whatever that math is, right? So you need to have done that work. But the work has got to be based upon you having a very clear idea of who your target customers really are. You can't just say the auto parts market is $756 billion and that's your TAM, because that's not the market for shops that are buying software to manage auto parts inventory, right? That was the extreme example I was giving. So does that answer your question?
It's tailored the message to the audience, is what you're
Well, no, I mean, it's more than that. More than that, as entrepreneurs, you need to have an answer to the question, what is your market size?
Okay.
So you do need to have an answer to the question. Yes. But I don't think, so it was a good point that if I had longer time, in the longer workshop we get there, but because Rob cut me off, okay? But the other point, the other point you're making, no investor is going to say, I'm sorry, why didn't you tell me your origin story, right? Okay, now, but I will tell you, and if you buy the book, chapter 6 is called The Inquisition. And one of the main points that I've learned over the years is that most pitches succeed or fail not on the slides, but on the Q&A. And so you need to know what sort of questions are going to be asked over and above what you present. And so one of the sort of VC 101 questions that you're going to hear from half of the VCs or entrepreneur investors you talk to, pretty much half of the VCs are going to say to you at the end of your pitch, well, Danny, why you? Why now? Right? So this is sort of VC 101. Why you? Why now? So you may or may not have said that in your pitch. And so if you didn't, half the VCs are going to say, why you? Why now? And then there are, I think we have 20 other questions in the book that are sort of just out of the, VC training manual for what you should ask entrepreneurs. So you need to have the answers to those questions. So your point is very valid that what you're going to get is way more than be clear, be compelling, and be and be credible in terms of filling out all the questions that VCs are going to ask you. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Okay, how are we doing?
Hi, Bill.
Hi, good to meet you.
Again. I'm Dora. So your presentation is wow, I'll have to say that.
Okay, thank you.
And you talk about the heart. That
Okay.
really surprised me because at the same time you say don't start with the story. But usually I studied theater. Usually it's always about a story, especially something
understand.
like a big why, and that's how you can go to the heart first. But
I would
wonder what's
say,
the step.
so
Yeah.
one of my big points is that your wow is more important than your why when you're talking to investors.
Okay.
Your why is important for your company culture, I would say. And so your why is, you've got to have a why, right? Because that's in part the glue that holds you together. But as far as VCs are concerned, they'll want to hear your why at some point. This is the story over the beer afterward. But in terms of my job is to take other people's money and invest it in entrepreneurs and startup companies that are going to be wildly successful. That you have a good, healthy company culture is going to be an important element of your success, and I'm going to care about that, but that's not going to be the first bit that I'm going to look at in terms of whether or not to keep talking to you. So if you do not have a compelling value proposition, I don't care what your why is. I mean, God bless you, but if you don't have a compelling value proposition, you're not going to be successful. And so that's why I put that first.
I see.
Does that make sense?
So what I mean is usually start with the story because that's the way you kind of like, you don't think that's a way to wow things.
Well,
stories?
I mean, so if you have an opportunity to make a presentation, so sometimes as entrepreneurs, you have an opportunity to make a presentation. You have a captive audience, you've got a fixed amount of time, they're not going to interrupt you, and so you can craft a presentation. You can do that. But my point is that 99% of the time, your pitch is less than 30 seconds long. And so it's nice to have a presentation for those very few times when you can present and tell a story. And it's, it's not that few. I mean, there's a lot of situations where you can tell your story, but compared to the number of times when you are meeting people and trying to get the word out, the wow part is what they're going to walk away with as a reason to want to get back to you. They may remember you because of your story, but they're not going to get back to you because of your story. They're going to get back to you because of your wow. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
And
So,
can I take a picture later with you with that?
Sure. Yes. Okay. Thank you. But please don't misunderstand me. I think a story is valuable. I think your why is important. I'm just saying that it's not your pitch unless you can condense that story, to imagine if, right? Okay. John, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing today? Hi, you guys. My name is John. I'm the founder of Weed Herb, which is Cannabis Social Network. My question to you is, how do you get past the void of inboxes when you're trying to pitch to the investors via an email? So like all of us, we're trying to give out our information to you, but you have 1 million applications. How do you really choose? Because is it not what you know, it's who you know? Because how do we get to you if we can't even get past the inboxes? Because that's been my fray for the longest.
Yeah.
We have a large social network. I have over 20, 30,000 users.
Yep.
We're doing $50,000 in revenue.
Okay.
And I can't get to you, so how do I get to the media to get to you so you can be like, oh, wow, this dude has a really good company in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Like, how do I,
No, I mean, I want you guys to help me solve this problem, okay? And so maybe it's our ChatGPT friend out there, but no, I mean, I am incredibly frustrated by my inability to process my inbox, right? And that was my, I gave that mini pitch about imagine if you had an app, right? So I've been pitching this for like 8 years, ever since, you guys probably noticed that the number of channels through which we get messages now just keeps expanding, right? So it used to be everything came through email.
That's why I said the void.
It's not a void. No, it's not at all a void. It's whatever. It's chaos, right? It's not a void. The void is absence of stuff. The problem is what's the opposite of a void? There's got to be a word for that. But I mean, absolutely, there is this challenge that all of us now are experiencing. That you got LinkedIn coming out. I have 3 emails. I actually have 5, but 2 of them feed to another. So I've got 3 inboxes. I've got LinkedIn and Messenger and WhatsApp and messages and I shut down WeChat. I did shut that down. But I mean, and then I've got 3 Slacks. But really, only one of them is important. But I've also got Skype coming in. What else do I got, right? And then sometimes I've got Line and Kakao, and depending on what part of the world I'm in, right? And Telegraph now, and now what's in the house. So, right? This is insane, right? This is insane. So I'm not answering your question. I'm just complaining, right?
I'm happy because
so
how
I'm
do you
looking
surf through
for
all that
someone.
chaos, basically?
Can't someone solve this problem, right? If there were a unified messaging system that could somehow prioritize, the messages, and then, that would be great. Now, to your point, so what's the alternative, given that we all have this problem?
Right.
The alternative is a trusted introduction. That's the harsh reality.
Yeah.
So, I would say, probably.
Because I'm from Sacramento, so getting into the circles out here is extremely difficult.
Right.
when
But
you're
if you
not
know
a part
Rich
of it.
Foreman, do you know Rich Foreman?
Yeah, actually, I do. out of
Okay.
Sacramento.
I mean, so if Rich Foreman vouches for you, then I'll pay attention. Right?
Oh, he'll vouch for me.
Okay. All right. For example, right? Okay. So, but I mean, again, the harsh reality is one that, it's almost impossible to get anyone, even a close friend, to respond quickly to, or at all, to an email. Right?
Right.
Even, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to ping them 2 or 3 times before they're likely to respond, so the good news is it turns out that really senior people have people, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
So,
with the people, your senior people, your admin basically. Do you communicate with them in order to get to you, or we got to wow them before it gets to you?
No, and I detached.
Because I imagine we can't just walk into an office and just be like, hey, like, what's the
Right. So, no, I mean, so in any case, I wish I could give you a silver bullet.
Absolutely, I appreciate the information.
But and you guys have all heard this. I mean, you just got to do your homework. You got to do your homework and get a personalized, trusted interconnection somewhere that is going to, convince me that it's worth opening this email, and then actually reading the first paragraph, and then possibly reading the rest of it. The chance of my looking at an attachment is really low, right? Unless it's from one of my partners, right? I mean, right? So you just get that harsh reality that you've got to get it in the subject line in the first 2 sentences, and probably it's from someone that I know and trust already.
Right, but do you read a lot of the, like the little side news stuff from all of the new, venture capital companies and stuff that are being funded? Do you?
No,
read a lot
I
of
have people who
rhetoric
do
and
that.
stuff?
That's somebody else's job.
Gotcha.
To sort of let me know, hey, is there anything important happening out there? Okay. So here's a statistic that I hate.
That kind of answers one of my questions.
Yeah. Here's a statistic I hate to share with entrepreneurs. What do you think is the median amount of time that VCs spend reading what you send?
0 seconds.
Right. I mean, you guys are all pretty close, right? But it's the median amount of time is 0 seconds, right?
0 seconds.
Right? I mean, that's the horrible world that you live in, right? And that's right, and that's so that's the challenge. And so don't publish that under my name, okay? Because then, all my VC brethren are going to come after me. So that's just, so that's just the harsh reality.
No,
so
I appreciate it.
Okay? All right. Okay. Thank you.
Bill, we have time for one last question.
Yes?
We have time for one last question. Go ahead.
One
Peter.
last question?
Go ahead,
Okay. I would love a miniaturized insulin pump. Okay, are we done?
By the way, I love your book. You should put it up on Audible. Okay.
On where?
Audible.
Audible, not Audible?
Audible or audiobooks.
Okay,
I had to get the Kindle
okay.
version. Yeah, I had to get the
okay.
Kindle
All right.
version. That was a little tough.
Okay.
The last question brought up a question that I've always wondered. How many emails do you get a day? Yeah. And how much of those are from companies that you're already working with, and how much of those are from companies that you've never heard of before?
Yeah, so my IT guy says that I'm now somewhere over 3,000 a day. So, but he has, he screens out, he screens out over 2,000 of them. Because so much, right, because so much is junk, spam, blah, 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 right? So in terms of legitimate emails, right? So in terms of legitimate emails, not the junk stuff that comes through, I get between 200 and 400 a day. Now, unfortunately, so half of those, I don't know. But a big chunk of those are sort of with current portfolio companies, But so, it's a lot. And then, but if you look at my calendar, the problem is, you look at my calendar, and there are days when I spend zero time looking at email because I'm in meetings. So I'm in meetings, sometimes from 7:30 in the morning till, we have a lot of clients, we have a lot of portfolio companies and corporate partners and team that are in, East Asia and in Europe. So then I've got that problem. So I just, I don't have time. There'll be days when I have zero time to look at my email, right?
So who do you actually read? Like, if I was to get an email to you, what would it have to have for you to be able to read it?
So my wife, my daughter, my son, then my partner. There are, I don't know what the right number is. There are 500 people on the planet that if I see it's coming in from them, I will absolutely make sure I read it. So it's something like that. I got, my problem, it's something like that. I don't know.
So basically it's somebody else who's one of your partners invested, and they're telling you, hey, take a look at this company.
Right. That was my point to that previous question, right? That it's got to be somebody, it's got to be one of the 500 to have a high likelihood that I'll open it. The end. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, Bill. So
all right.
it's yours to award to the best question.
Okay. And it's Anthony. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for that. I do want you to know it was really, really hard for me to make a decision for Anthony because all of you guys who asked questions were so good. All of you entrepreneurs who pitched were so good. It was really hard to decide on Anthony, but I had to pick one. Okay.
So let's give it up for Bill.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. So let's give it up for all our presenters tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
So let's give it up for Procopio and all our sponsors.
Thank you, Procopio.
Let's give it up for our event team and our video team.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Let's give it up for Joe, our timer and our bouncer.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
All right. So let's give it up for our audience for sticking around.
Okay, thank you, guys. And let's give it up for Rob for bringing us.
So stick around. You're still around. Talk to Bill. Get selfies with Bill. I mentioned that there were 3 options for the after party. Once again, they were the Rosewood, the patio, or Pizza My Heart. However, I've decided the after party is going to be here. So stick around. We brought out the ice cream. Procopio said we can stay as long as we like. Finish off the food. Thanks for coming. Enjoy the after party.